So in our session called Where in the World, we'll be talking about different people and places. Now, Black and Asian people have lived in Britain since the Roman times, but it can be quite difficult to find evidence or proof of this. This could be in paintings or drawings, photographs, birth, marriage, even death certificates. But they're not always easy to find. It does not mean that they didn't live important lives. It just meant that records were kept very differently. In a way, we need to be detectives, and it helps us to have a better understanding of history. Now, John de Man lived from 1774 to 1847, and we have evidence of his life in London and Greenwich in the painting, The United Service, dated 1845. But there are other people of colour who lived and worked in Britain in that time. So let's learn a little about them. And so the first person that we're going to talk about is a lady called Catalina, a black servant to Catherine of Aragon during the 16th century. Now, Catherine of Aragon was Queen of England from 1509 to 1533, and she was the first wife of King Henry VIII. Catalina was the lady of the bedchamber for Catherine of Aragon for over 26 years. So she worked very closely with the Queen at that time. Now, we don't have a lot of information about her, but we do know that she was a black woman. The next person is John Blank. Now, he was a trumpeter in the Tudor royal court in the 16th century for both King Henry VII and King Henry VIII. He came from North Africa, and we've got proof or evidence of him being in London at that time because he's actually shown an important document. The Westminster Tournament Roll, which was made in 1511, and it was made to mark a royal birth. We can actually see his image on there twice. Now, it's reported that John Blank was a very talented trumpeter, and he even asked the king for a pay rise, which he received, which shows that in a way, he was fighting for equal pay. And finally, I'd like to mention John Simmons. He was born in Kingston, Jamaica in 1783. Born of mixed heritage, he was press-ganged into the Navy at the age of just 20. He went on to fight in the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805 with Nelson and was later injured and came here to Greenwich to be treated at the hospital. Now, he stayed in Greenwich as a pensioner and later married and lived and worked here. And in 1846, he received the Medal of Trafalgar. He actually had 4 children, and many of his descendants still live in the UK today. Now, in the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805, there were actually 18 registered black sailors who are known to have fought in that battle. That's an interesting fact to know. So they were just a few examples of some of the black people living and working in London over 200 years ago. They all had a connection with the old Royal Naval College. So let's try another activity. In a moment, you'll be looking at some word puzzles, and you'll find a list of words underneath. See if you can find the hidden words that we've mentioned today in those puzzles. An interesting fact. Did you know that women were not allowed in the British Royal Navy hundreds of years ago? And the first known female to be in the Royal Navy was someone who called themselves William Brown. This was actually a black woman who disguised herself as a man to actually work with the Royal Navy in the 18th century. See if you can find out any more information about William Brown. So I hope you've enjoyed learning about just a few of the Black Britons that lived and worked in London over 200 years ago. The British Royal Navy travelled all over the world, visiting different cities, countries and continents. And people who joined the Royal Navy came from lots of those different places. This means they influenced how Britain is today. Black people still work in the Navy today, but have a very different experience. So we've just learned a few things about some of the Black Britons. Can you find out about any more? Maybe famous teachers, politicians, scientists, artists. Maybe you could make your very own word puzzles. As I said before, it's fun to be a detective and find out about where people came from, where in the world. Is that okay?
And that's a wrap.
Fantastic. Brilliant.